Hi, my name is Francis, and I am an apostate. That would be hilarious to start an AA group, Apostates Anonymous. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Francis, and yes, I am an apostate. What does that mean? So I was baptized a Catholic, and I was an active member of that community until 5 years ago when I decided to leave. And in that decision to leave, I am labeled an apostate. I just want to quickly read a definition from the Catholic Encyclopedia. Apostasy from the faith is the act by which a baptized person, after possessing the true Christian faith, totally rejects it. A person is an apostate whether he joins a non-Christian religion as Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, or falls into unbelief, atheism, materialism, agnosticism, rationalism, indifferentism, or free thought. Apostates from the faith incur excommunication ipso facto, so in the very act, and other penalties. So technically, you have to positively reject the faith and join a different type of religion or philosophy that is contrary to the Catholic faith, which I haven't done. So when I say I am labeled an apostate, that's what I mean. But that's beside the point because I'm not here to teach moral theology. I know that there's a lot of people who are in my shoes. There's a video from Bishop Barron. I'm actually going to play a little bit of it later, but he says that the second largest religion after Catholicism are ex-Catholics. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are in my shoes for whatever reason. And looking at some of the videos or articles from people who left Catholicism, I can say that some of the reasons are more honest than others. But they made their decision to leave, and I'm not in a position to judge anybody for making that decision. They're on their own journey. I can see that there's an honesty that's present, or lack thereof, in their reasons, but what can I say? Whatever the reason is for someone to leave the Catholic faith or whatever religion, there is a certain weight, a heaviness that comes with the title of apostate, because an apostate is someone who is shunned by the community. Although there might be contact with people who want to bring the person back, there's a tension that is involved between the person and their former religious community. Where normally, when the people leave, they just cut off ties altogether. They don't want to have any contact with the former community. For some people I've seen, when they try to relate their reasons for leaving the Catholic religion, they feel like they have to defend their decision. We're brought up to think that apostasy equals damned. If you're an apostate, you're cutting yourself off from the only possible solution to our horrible human condition, and you're preventing yourself from being able to go to heaven. So the only destination for an apostate is hell, unless they reconvert and then everything's okay. That's a really somber idea for someone who has made the decision to leave the faith. And I think that's why some people, once they leave religion, they have to totally block out that part of their past in order to not feel guilty. And it's very common with ex-Catholics to see their hatred towards religion, towards their former community. Like they have to constantly look at every negative thing in order to justify their position. Personally, in my experience, I have never felt guilty for leaving. I feel guilty for some of the consequences of my decision, especially with people that I was close to before, but I never felt guilty for making the decision. And believe me, I have in these past 5 years gone over and over and over again everything that happened, and it's not easy for me to live in a state where I'm trying to deceive myself. And in the seminary, it was clear to me that the only hope that I had in my life was just trying to maintain union with God, trying to just keep going, even though it felt like I was stumbling all the time, which was fine, whatever. But becoming an apostate, leaving the faith, was like a death sentence. And I thought, I'll never do that. That's so stupid. Why would anyone do that? And in that perseverance, I thought, well, if God sees that I'm trying, then he'll always give me enough. It's like someone who's dying of thirst. You just give them enough to keep them alive, but you don't give them enough so that they're not thirsty, because you want them to keep coming back. So I thought, if I just keep trying, then I'll just get enough to keep going and to keep going and to keep going. And if I stopped trying, that would be me rejecting God's help, even if it was just a little bit. It was a weakness. It was me turning away from God and following whatever, some passions. There's a million reasons why. Because that's the thing. All the people that leave religion are lumped together as people who rejected God by their own will because they are weak, because they want to follow the world, the flesh, the devil, whatever it may be, and reject God, positively reject God. I'm going to read a very interesting letter from a priest that I found on a website. I'll put it up on the screen now, about how the family should treat an apostate member. Someone in your family, parents, brother, sister, son, daughter, cousin, grandfather, whoever it may be. And this is the sense of what I received, the type of education that I received growing up. Maybe not in these specific words, but definitely the same spirit. So let's read this wonderful letter. I believe that a Catholic should treat such a person with caution, as if he were contaminated by a contagious disease. Indeed, if a member of the family gets measles, his parents put him in quarantine until the contagious symptoms are over. One should act analogously with a spiritual disease, such as the loss of one's faith. The one contaminated with such an apostasy must be put in quarantine away from others and receive only those who can help to cure him. Well, this is just wonderful. With that type of language, especially now that we're getting over everything that we just got over for the past 2 years, what's the idea of someone who is contagious? Imagine what happened with the people during the beginning of the AIDS crisis, that people were afraid of drinking the same water after someone, or touching the surface that another person touched. Imagine that mentality, how the people are going to treat other people. Not that they're looking at the other person, but they're looking at the disease, the problem. The person is no longer who they were before. I especially counsel you to avoid contact of the apostate member with your children. Children are like small trees that, when hurt, retain a scar from the wound all their lives. Familiar complacence towards a relative who denies our holy faith may mark the psychology of a child forever. I wonder what the basis of this type of comment is on. He may become a relativist if you treat your apostate relative with the same familiarity as you show to other faithful family members. This is why, especially, I could see in my previous community that they pushed out, or they put a barrier up between them, their family, the community, and the others out there, the horrible, contagious, disease-filled people out there. This is the language that you're brought up learning about. Maybe not as extreme, but definitely the same spirit. And then you're on the other side. And this is the type of attitude that you're presented with by your family, by your friends, by the community that you were a part of before. Or you're afraid of confirming that that's how people are going to treat you. So you completely cut off ties with everything from your past, all the members of your past, and hate it. You almost want to control the reaction that you'll get. If you say, I reject you, then when they reject the apostate, then it feels justified. Like their reaction was justified. There are some people who are genuine and honest and just saying, hey, these are my ideas, this is why I left. But you really see in some people their true colors, that they still have this insecurity with their decision, which is fine. I mean, that's their their process. But I want to express that it's okay to not make a definite rejection or a hatred towards the people of your past or whatever that may be. I don't know if that's clear. Anyway, let's keep going. Sorry if I'm looking over to the side. I'm looking at my computer. Thus, you and the spiritually healthy members of your family should keep a distance from the apostate. So the perfect ones should stay far away from the apostate, the contagious one, the one with AIDS, spiritual AIDS. I won't enter here into details because each case is different. Oh, wow, there's nuance to this. But the general principles are those I expounded. Contact may be kept with the apostate by mature members of the family with the goal of bringing the straying lamb back to the fold. So whenever you have contact with the other one, your mission, your only mission, is to bring them back. And I know that speaking to people who have left religion, that they feel that way whenever they talk to their parents, whenever they talk to their siblings or their old friends. It's like there's always this mission that the other person has. And then the one who left religion is afraid of that, so they break contact with those people. Because it's very easy to just write about these things, but we're talking about people. We're talking about people with intellect and emotions, with families, with histories, with all of that. It's easy in black and white to say, do this, don't do this. But then in a particular situation, it's a lot more complicated, like usual. So now I just quickly want to look at a video from Bishop Barron, and the title of the video is On Why Catholics Leave the Church. You would think that it would go through maybe a list of reasons. Well, he explains in the video that he did a survey because, like I said before, the second largest religion in the world, according to him, are ex-Catholics. So he thought, well, let's figure out why. Why are they leaving?
Well, the survey asks as directly as possible. It addresses those who have left and said why. A fair amount of it was predictable. People said things like, gay marriage, divorce and remarriage, contraception, women's ordination, a lot of the sort of hot button issues. You know what struck me about the survey was the number of things that can be addressed. Things that were really bothering people or on their minds, given as reasons why they left, that can indeed be addressed. Here's the first category, what I call bad customer relations. So a lot of people left because they were just treated poorly. Here's a second one that I think can be addressed, and a lot of people mentioned it in the survey. Bad preaching. But a lot of people said, I left the church, I left the parish, and nobody called me, nobody wrote to me, no one contacted me from the parish. But I found the survey kind of encouraging in a certain way because it convinced me there are some things, very concrete, very simple, very practical things that we can do right now that would go actually a long way toward improving the situation.
So the conclusion is that people leave for reasons that are mere PR problems, that they have a problem with a particular priest or this person offended me or did, very superficial, illegitimate reasons. I'm not denying that people leave for seemingly insignificant or illegitimate reasons. I mean, I can look at someone's actions externally and think, that was stupid. Why did they do that? But as I said before, I don't know the full story because in the end, like with every decision, every person is responsible for what they do, what they decide to do. But it does say a lot that on a video from a bishop on why Catholics leave the church, the focus is on these rather superficial reasons. He doesn't mention anything to do with maybe abuse or whatever else that I can't say on YouTube. And again, it doesn't just show the mentality of the people that are in the religion looking towards an apostate, but it also affects the person who decided to leave the church, that these ideas were or are in that person's head. It can cause a sense of guilt, a sense of, wow, I left for illegitimate reasons, or I should have done this. I should have been stronger. I should have persevered more. I should have. It's good to be aware of these thoughts and these almost echoes from the past that are still in our head. It's a part of our formation. It's a part of us. We can't just cut out the religious past completely. It's still there. It still helps us in making decisions and making actions, even in a life outside of religion. And it's important to say, feeling guilty is not always a bad thing. If we do something that we know we shouldn't, or which is not going to benefit us or other people, and we feel guilty afterwards, that isn't just something we can say, oh, that's Catholic guilt, or that's religious guilt, or that's a bad guilt. Guilt does come from nowhere sometimes, but other times it can help us in a good direction to change certain behaviors. And because I have begun this YouTube channel and expressing everything that I went through in my past, being very personal, very open, more open than I probably should be, I have received some very interesting comments from people. And I know that the vast majority of comments are in support, which for me, it's good to hear that, but at the same time, it's not really going to change anything that I do. I always find it very entertaining when other YouTubers go through their comments and expose some of them to their viewers. So I'm going to do it to you now. I'm not going to give any names, and please don't just find the comments. Don't just go attack these people. It's just reinforcing everything that I've said in the video. I'm not blaming them because that's the education. That's how we were brought up. And I just received a message from my mom. Very interesting. It's like you were blaming and accusing the Catholic community from the parish you worked at all the worst stuff. Wasn't there anything positive about them? What were you doing as their pastor to correct them? It's like you throwing all the bad stuff at them. I mean, that's just sad. And I didn't get it from your previous videos. What made you lose your faith? I'll put up a link to the video of why. I think that's the title of the video. How was it that all those years you believed in Christ, his presence in the Eucharist, and then you decided you don't? Faith is truly an act of will. If you leave the church, you decide that you no longer believe. You are rejecting. You are weak. The whole idea of willpower. You weren't strong enough. So then you decided to leave, which if you watch my other video, you know that that's not the reason why I left. But anyway, let's continue. Mother Teresa once asked a priest how his prayer life was. The priest told her he was so busy that he had no prayer life. Her response was, "Oh, Father, you're not going to make it." As Padre Pio said, prayer is the oxygen of the soul. Why make a comment like that? Because I didn't pray enough. They're looking for a reason, but it's because I did something wrong. Because I didn't do what I should have done. I was too weak. These are all conclusions formed by that mentality. And it's something that any one of us can go through our head. What would have happened if I just did this more? Or if I just did this? Or if I did that? And then another reason that is probably the most common, especially since I came out as homosexual. Why are you so governed by your passions and your sensual desires? Why does sex rule you? We all have these desires in some form, but we don't all allow them to control us. If I were to allow mine to control me, I would literally spend all day just chasing girls and having sex nonstop till I was worn right out, and I don't. It's just a bunch of hormones. There is so much more to life. I love stomping on these desires and then pursuing real dreams. Again, if this person decides to do that, that's fine. It's okay to stomp on natural desires and go for something else. Okay, the idea of you leave religion because you just want to have sex all day. You're too weak to control with your will these natural desires. You're too weak to stomp on these natural desires. It's your fault. You just want to have sex all day until you're tired. It's just a funny characterization of someone who leaves. And I'm sure that there's people who have left for those reasons, and they will quickly find out that that is not a good reason to live, period. Frank. I hate the name Frank. There was a woman who was a few houses down from me, one of our neighbors, who was insane and called me Frank, and I never liked that name after that. Frank. What your series seems to say is that you're an overzealous, prissy queen that has nothing better to do with this time than mock everyone else's beliefs to augment your own lack of faith. I guess you are renouncing your... Okay, blah, blah, blah. God bless you, dear boy. I don't think that I come across as a prissy queen, and I don't think that I just shit on everyone else's beliefs. I think I do the exact opposite. It's really fun just going through these comments and seeing how ridiculous they are. And last but not least, you need therapy, dude. You made friends with your vices and let them win. Fight the good fight, get help. I made friends with my vices. So all the things that a good Catholic should fight against, I decided to just accept and go along with. And now I'm just living a very sinful, horrible life, just giving into any impulse that comes. That's the idea. Oh wait, not the last one. Wow, such a lost soul. Satan has this guy. He is hellbound. Wonder when exactly he sold his soul. Before, during, or after the seminary. Oh, whatever. So I can understand seeing how people who leave a religion, how they're treated by the members of that religion, why making that decision would not be easy. I mean, basically in making that decision, you are not only rejecting the belief, but you're being rejected. You're positively causing the other people to reject you. And not only is there the idea of it was my fault because I'm weak, because I didn't do enough. But also when you leave, you are shunned from the community. You just have this idea that when you leave and you're the lost soul, that your family, your friends, they're all gonna weep. I'm sure psychologically affects in different degrees everyone who leaves. I mean, some people can pretend and cover that up with appearing like they're strong, that they're the ones who are attacking the others, not that they're being attacked. You know, and whatever happens externally, whatever you see someone who's an apostate who has left religion going through, this is something that is very serious and very difficult to deal with. And it weighs heavy on anyone who is sincere about leaving. So because I know everybody's journey is different, I would love to hear about some thoughts that you have within the comment section. And I know that with other people, they've been through horrible experiences within religion, whether with the clergy. I can't go into specific words, but types of abuse, being rejected for who they are, or having some sort of intellectual problem with the teachings of the religion. Whatever it may be, people have their reasons. And even if later on in life, people decide that being away from the church was not a good decision for them, or isn't a good decision for them at that moment, and they go back, I don't judge them. I don't say, how can you go back to that? No. What? Who am I? So I know that the tendency is to just positively attack religion, attack the past, and condemn everything because it's easier. It's apparently easier to do that. But I've found for myself that understanding the intricacies of that influence from the past in our present life gives us a better perspective of what's actually happening. Like most people, they're like, well, before I was pro-life, so now I'm going to be pro-choice. So I'm going to take the opposite position just because I'm rejecting everything from the past. And I want to say, okay, that was my position before. Is that still my position now? Let's look into it. Let's see how I see myself now and my perspective, and see if I can accept that perspective, if I can agree with it. Because the truth doesn't change just because we've changed our position in life. If before it was wrong to murder someone, here it's still wrong to murder someone. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's important to see that maybe these thoughts that we're having, this self-loathing that I've seen in people, or this instantaneous hatred of everyone from religion, maybe that's coming from this idea of when you leave the church, it's your fault because you're weak, because you did something wrong, which isn't always the case. And like my mama always told me, be awake and aware. Understand what's happening. So with that, you have to excuse me. I have to go sacrifice babies on the altar to Malik. Just kidding. Have a great weekend. Bye.